Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. The funeral without a body. It wasn't raining the day they buried him. That's the part Logan remembered most, not the dirt or the folded flag, but the dry sky. It felt disrespectful, almost cruel, like even the weather didn't care that he'd died. No coffin, no remains, just a photograph. Logan Maddox, age 34, U.S. Navy SEAL, presumed Kia during a covert operation off the Horn of Africa. The camera crews captured the grief. Maddie, his wife, stood at the front with dark sunglasses, holding back tears for the man everyone thought she loved. Her black dress clung to her like guilt. She looked devastated, or maybe just tired of pretending. What no one knew, not the officers, not the grieving parents, not even the priest, was that Logan wasn't dead. Not even close. 2 months earlier, a mission had gone sideways. Intel blown. His team ambushed. He was ordered to disappear, to go dark and off the grid, even from his own command. Standard ghost protocol. No phones, no emails, no trace. He followed orders. But in the silence, something gnawed at him. Maddie's last words over the phone before his flight. Be careful. I don't know what I'd do if I lost you. Now, watching the funeral through a grainy live stream on a secure laptop in a South Carolina safe house, Logan saw what she'd done. Standing too close to Brandon Hayes, his old friend, arm around her waist, the faintest smirk behind a look of sympathy. Logan paused the video. His jaw clenched. His breathing slowed. She didn't lose me, he whispered. She replaced me. He closed the laptop gently. And for the first time in years, Logan Maddox broke protocol. He was going home. But what exactly was he coming home to? Hey everyone. We've just hit 3,000 subscribers on Midnight Affairs Tales, and I couldn't be more grateful for your love and support. Your passion for deep, emotional, and shocking stories has helped build something truly special here. Now, I've quietly started a new channel. It's called Betrayal Stories Lab. It's a place where I'll share even more powerful stories, full of betrayal, unexpected twists, and unforgettable endings. If you've enjoyed the journey so far, I'd love for you to check it out and be part of this new beginning. Channel link is in the description. Just one click and you're there. Let's grow this new space together. Our first goal is 1,000 subscribers. And if any story touches you, don't forget to share it. Thank you for always being here. The first time Logan saw Maddie with Brandon, really saw them, it wasn't in a photo or video. It was live. He was back in his hometown, hidden in the shadows, watching from across the street as Maddie walked out of a cafe. She was laughing, leaning into Brandon's side like she belonged there. They kissed like teenagers, like there was no history, no guilt, no husband whose name was still engraved on the granite memorial 2 miles away. Logan gripped the steering wheel of the beat-up truck he'd borrowed. His hands turned white. He didn't move, didn't cry, just stared. He remembered Brandon's voice in their last call before deployment. I'll keep an eye on her, brother. Always. He meant it, apparently in all the worst ways. Later that night, Logan slipped into the house he once called home. Same front porch swing. Same wind chimes. Inside, it smelled different. Cleaner, colder. Maddie's wedding ring was gone from the dish near the sink. Logan found an empty drawer where his shirts used to be, filled now with men's cologne that wasn't his brand. He picked up a framed photo of the three of them, him, Maddie, Brandon, from his promotion ceremony. He flipped it. Brandon's handwriting was scrawled on the back. Brothers in arms. Brothers for life. Logan laughed under his breath. Just once. A sharp exhale like a cough. Then he opened a locked box under the floorboards. Inside, old mission gear, burner phones, a pistol, and a folder labeled Plan V. He sat on the edge of the bed. This wasn't an accident, he muttered. They didn't wait until I was gone. They were already happening. He looked around the room like it was haunted. They didn't bury me. They buried what was left of their guilt. He reached for the burner phone and powered it on. Then he opened the hidden camera feed Maddie never disabled. And what he saw confirmed it all. But how long had they been lying, and how far had it gone? The inbox was still connected, an old cloud account Maddie used years ago. She must have forgotten it was still synced to Logan's backup drive. Dozens of drafts. Some never sent. Some deleted. Some she probably wrote while still pretending to mourn him. August 4th, 3:03 a.m. Brandon says we can't go public yet. He says people won't understand. I hate waiting. I hate pretending I'm grieving. I hate how quiet the house is, but mostly I hate that I still feel something when I think of Logan. September 19th, 10:12 p.m. Saw his mom today. She asked if I'm doing okay. I almost laughed. If she only knew I was planning a weekend getaway with his best friend. God, what is wrong with me? Logan stopped reading. He leaned back in the creaky chair, staring at the words like they might change if he blinked hard enough. This wasn't a fling. This was an entire second life. He opened another file. A scanned copy of a life insurance claim, signed 2 weeks after his memorial. Filed jointly under Maddie's name. And Brandon Hayes as domestic partner. He whispered, they cashed in on my death. And just like that, something in Logan snapped. Not violently. Not loudly. Cold. Quiet. Focused. He picked up the burner phone, called a number. A woman's voice answered. Logan. Kinsey. I need a favor. A pause. You back? I'm not here to fix anything, he said. I'm here to burn it down. Kinsey exhaled. Where do we start? Logan looked out the window into the night. With the lies they buried me under. In the seals, silence isn't passive. It's strategic. A lack of sound means pressure is building. That's exactly what Logan was doing now, watching, listening, collecting. He hadn't reached out to Maddie. Not directly. Not yet. Instead, he moved through his hometown like a ghost, staying in an old hunting cabin 10 miles outside the city, off-grid. He used his burner to check the house's smart cams. Maddie hadn't changed the passwords. She didn't think she needed to. She thought he was dead. That ignorance was his advantage. Kinsey showed up 2 days later, pulling into the woods with a beat-up Jeep and a tired face. She hadn't told anyone Logan was back. Not even her fiancé. Can I hug you, or are you still full seal mode? She asked, stepping out with a flask in one hand and a box of documents in the other. He didn't answer. Just pulled her into a hug and held on longer than expected. She pulled back. You look like hell. I've seen worse, Logan muttered. Kinsey nodded toward the box. These are from Maddie's old storage unit. I kept copies. I knew someday this would matter. Inside the box, bank statements, secret emails, even love letters written to Brandon during the months Logan was deployed. You really want to go through with this? She asked. I buried my life for that woman, Logan said. She buried me for a check and a new man. He paused. So yeah, I'm going through with this. Every step. Kinsey looked him over. She doesn't just deserve payback, she said. She deserves to know she never broke you. Logan's jaw tightened. She didn't break me. She made me sharper. But how do you kill a lie without becoming one yourself? Late that night, Logan sat in front of the laptop in the dim cabin, eyes locked on a folder titled Bedroom Feed_Interior. He'd avoided opening it until now. Some part of him had hoped he wouldn't need to. But revenge requires clarity. He clicked play. Maddie walked into frame, hair wet from a shower. Brandon followed, shirtless, beer in hand. They laughed. She kissed him. He reached around her waist. It was the bedroom Logan designed. Same walls. Same bed. Different story. Brandon collapsed onto the mattress with a smug grin. You think anyone suspects? Maddie shrugged. I cried at his memorial. That bought us a year. Easy. Brandon raised a brow. You sure you're not going to get all weird about this? I mean, he was your husband. She didn't even blink. He was a ghost long before he died. Logan froze the video there. Her words stabbed more than the images. He played the next file, the kitchen cam, date stamped 4 days later. Brandon again, speaking low. What if he comes back? Maddie scoffed. He won't. And if he does? We'll spin it. Say we thought he was lost. That we grieved. That we moved on. Logan sat back. Calm. Silent. This wasn't just betrayal. This was planning. She'd already figured out her alibi, and it was airtight. Unless someone tore it apart from the inside. Logan shut the laptop. He reached for the pistol on the table. He didn't lift it. Just stared. He didn't need bullets. He needed precision. He needed fear. and he knew exactly where to start. The first public event was a charity gala hosted by Maddie and Brandon, in memory of our hero, Logan Maddox. The irony would have been funny if it didn't sting so deep. Logan stood just outside the entrance, wearing a baseball cap pulled low. No one recognized him. To them, he was another face in the crowd. Inside, Maddie stood on stage in a sleek black dress, smiling as the crowd applauded her strength, her journey, her grace through tragedy. Logan's teeth clenched. She thanked donors, told war stories that weren't hers to tell, quoted letters Logan had written her, word for word, like they were hers now. Then she smiled, that same TV-perfect smile, and held Brandon's hand. "They say you never stop loving your first true love," she said into the mic, "but you also learn to keep living." The crowd clapped. Some wiped tears. Logan turned and walked away. He didn't need to hear more. He pulled out his phone and opened an encrypted messaging app. Typed 3 words. "It begins now." An hour later, Brandon's office inbox received a flagged report from his firm's internal ethics committee, a sexual misconduct investigation. Anonymous source. Screenshots attached. A copy of a hotel bill. Brandon's paralegal, face blurred. Kinsey texted Logan, "That'll shake them up." Logan replied, "That's not even step 1. That was just the knock." He looked back at the building glowing behind him. "They gave me a funeral," he whispered. "Now I'll give them a reckoning." Logan's hideout wasn't just a cabin. It was a war room. Down in the basement, old chalkboards covered the walls. Photographs, timelines, maps, banking info, and surveillance screenshots were pinned with surgical precision. Colored string linked events, Maddie's movements, Brandon's clients, real estate transactions, the date Maddie filed for the insurance money. At the center of it all was a printed photo of Logan's own tombstone. "Presumed dead," he muttered, staring at it. "But you didn't wait long to start living." He spent hours combing through her emails, syncing her smart speaker logs, even tracking her grocery runs. Maddie was routine-driven, still lived on schedules. Brandon, on the other hand, was sloppy. Late-night drinks, deleted texts, expense reports that didn't match up. That gave Logan a crack. Using an old SEAL protocol, he rerouted Brandon's personal assistant's texts to a second number. A few days later, he had access to Brandon's entire calendar. Meetings, flights, even a private dinner with a high-profile client. He circled the date in red. That's when the next blow would land. Kinsey showed up again, this time with printed transcripts, voice-to-text logs from Maddie's phone. Some were boring. Others weren't. "You sure you want to go through with the wedding? I'm already in too deep. If he comes back, I'll just play the widow card." Logan stared at the line in silence. "She's gambling with a ghost," he said. "Let's see how she handles a haunting." He started packing the equipment he'd need. No violence. No guns. Just the truth, weaponized. And Maddie would be the one to light the fuse. A SEAL doesn't charge in blind. He waits. Listens. Plans. That's exactly what Logan was doing now, stalking a different battlefield. Brandon's private dinner was being held at the upscale Covington Club, a members-only restaurant known for discretion. Politicians. Lawyers. Men who needed shadows to conduct business. Logan watched from the roof of a building across the street, dressed like a line cook on break. His phone buzzed once. A photo came through. Brandon, laughing across the table from a blonde in a silk blouse. Not Maddie. Definitely not his client. Inside, the waiter delivered a bottle of wine. Attached to it was a small envelope. Brandon opened it, confused. Inside was a note. "I never stayed dead. You never stopped lying. L." Brandon dropped the note and looked around, pale. The blonde blinked. "What's wrong?" He stood up. "We're leaving." Logan watched him rush out the door. The panic was priceless. Predictable. Brandon didn't realize it yet, but this wasn't just about catching him off guard. It was about exposing him. Later that night, Logan uploaded footage of Brandon and the mystery woman, timestamped, high resolution, to a dummy email address tied to Brandon's firm's HR department. He didn't sign his name. He didn't need to. This was death by exposure. One piece at a time. Kinsey called the next morning. He's on edge. Maddie's asking questions. Logan exhaled. Good. Let them turn on each other. I'm just getting started. What happens when the cheaters stop trusting each other? The morning after the Covington incident, Brandon arrived at his office to find his name missing from the firm's welcome board. His assistant looked nervous. "Mr. Wilder wants to speak to you." Now, Brandon forced a smile and stepped into the managing partner's office. On the desk sat a folder. Inside, photos, screenshots, room charges, a complaint filed by Anonymous with damning specifics. Brandon tried to explain. "Blamed a setup. My ex is crazy. This is payback." Wilder didn't blink. "That's your problem. Ours is damage control." Brandon was put on administrative leave, firm speak for start packing. Meanwhile, Maddie was hosting a brunch at her home, playing the doting hostess, smiling through eggs and mimosas while women whispered about her upcoming engagement. But beneath the makeup and smiles, Maddie's hands shook. She'd heard the rumors. Brandon acting weird, missing meetings, drinking more. Then her phone buzzed. One new message. No sender, no subject, just an attachment. She opened it. A photo. Brandon. The blonde. The dinner. The note. "You didn't lose your husband. You just stopped looking." Her breath caught in her throat. She dropped the phone. Across town, Logan sat in the cab of his truck, watching from a distance as the guests filtered out of Maddie's house. He wasn't smiling. This wasn't fun. This was war. He turned on a voice recorder and began narrating every move, every timestamp, every response. A SEAL logs everything, even civilian kills. And this mission was only warming up. Kinsey knew something was wrong with Maddie long before Logan came back. She saw it in her eyes, the way Maddie flinched at shadows, how she checked her phone twice every minute, the way she smiled with her mouth but never her eyes. They were childhood friends, used to be close. But something changed after Logan's death. Maddie got colder, sharper, private. Then one night, Kinsey saw her in the parking lot of a grocery store, crying behind the wheel of her car. That same night, Logan texted her. "She's starting to break. Let's give her a little push." Kinsey approached Maddie the next day with a fake story. "I think someone's watching me," she said casually. "Felt it for weeks now." Maddie's eyes went wide, too fast. "You too?" Kinsey tilted her head. "Wait, what do you mean too?" Maddie hesitated. "Nothing. Just, I've been getting weird emails. And last night, my door alarm went off at 3 a.m., but there was no one there." Kinsey held her stare. "You ever think maybe Logan isn't really gone?" Maddie laughed too quickly. "That's impossible." Kinsey smiled, slow. "You sure about that?" The silence between them was thick. That night, Maddie didn't sleep. She searched online for military survival stories. She Googled Logan's mission, found only redacted reports and speculation. She stared at her own reflection in the mirror. "He's gone," she whispered to herself. But the fear in her voice told another story. When guilt starts whispering, the truth doesn't have to scream. Logan met Kinsey in a back booth of a 24-hour diner just outside town. No cameras, no ears. The kind of place people pass through, not remember. She sat across from him, hair pulled up, no makeup, no emotion. "She's unraveling," Kinsey said. "Fast." Logan nodded. "Good. I want her unstable when the hammer drops." Kinsey stirred her coffee. "You sure you're not doing this to hurt yourself too?" Logan looked up. "I'm doing this so she never hurts anyone again." Kinsey slid a folder across the table. "Found this in an old storage locker. Looks like she transferred money from your shared savings 6 months before your deployment. Guess where it went?" Logan opened the folder. A lease. A condo. Signed by Maddie and Brandon. They'd planned to live together before he even left. Logan closed the file slowly. "That's the part that gets me," he said. "I could have handled the affair. I've seen worse. But she didn't wait for me to die. She bet on it." Kinsey whispered, "She made peace with you being a memory before you were even gone." Logan's voice went quiet. "Then it's time to turn memory into movement." He took out his phone, opened a note app, and typed, "Step 2, sever her from Brandon. Step 3, take her public image. Step 4, force her to face me." Kinsey looked at him. "She's not the only one who changed, Logan." He didn't blink. "You're right. But was he still Logan, or something else now?" Brandon was already on edge. 3 missed calls from his firm. 4 voicemails from Maddie. An envelope slid under his office door with only one word written on it. Liar. Inside, another copy of the dinner photo. The fear in his voice was growing, the same way it had back in BUD/S training when he failed water confidence drills and Logan pulled him out. Back then, Logan had saved him. Now, Logan was drowning him slow. The final blow came through a scheduled delivery. A flash drive. No label. Brandon plugged it into his laptop and hit play. It was a mashup, footage from inside Maddie's house, audio clips of Brandon and Maddie laughing over Logan's life insurance payout. One clip of Maddie saying, "I never loved him." Not really. But the ending was the real punch. Logan's voice, low, calm, controlled. "I was dead. Now I'm watching. What do you think comes next?" Brandon yanked the drive and threw it against the wall. He tried to call Maddie. No answer. Tried to text her. Nothing. Across town, Logan sat in the dark, watching Brandon's panic through the very security system Brandon had installed himself. SEALs learn to use every weapon at their disposal. Sometimes the weapon is a bullet. Other times, it's the truth. But when the lies finally collapse, who gets crushed first? Maddie slammed her front door and locked it twice, then sat on the couch staring at her phone. 3 messages, all from blocked numbers. One was a recording of her own voice. From a night she didn't know she was being watched. Let them mourn him. By the time they stop crying, we'll be in Mexico. She deleted it. Threw the phone across the room. Outside, the wind blew hard against the windows. But the real storm was inside her chest. She was starting to realize something terrifying. She didn't know how much Logan had seen, or what he was capable of now. At that same moment, Brandon arrived at his condo to find a courier waiting. Sign here. He opened the manila envelope. A lawsuit. Filed against him. Claims. Ethical misconduct, conspiracy to defraud, misuse of classified marital documents, emotional manipulation of a federal military spouse. Brandon's mouth went dry. But the name of the complainant wasn't listed. Just the initials. LM. Brandon dropped the envelope. He's not just back, he's organized. Kinsey called Logan. You hit them with legal now? Logan replied, yeah. I want them boxed in. Not just scared, cornered. He stared at his war wall in the cabin basement. More red circles. More faces. More arrows. He wasn't just fighting them. He was dismantling everything they built together. And doing it piece by piece. Because nothing cuts deeper than the law used like a scalpel. It was a relic from a different life. Kinsey had found it stuffed in a storage bin marked Christmas stuff in Maddie's garage, a little black moleskine notebook filled with handwriting. Not Maddie's regular handwriting. This was messier, rushed, emotional. It was a journal. Logan sat under a hanging bulb in the cabin, flipping through the pages. Day 6 without him. I want to feel sad, but I don't. Is that wrong? Brandon says I deserve to be happy. But sometimes I wonder if I deserve anything. They still call me his widow. That word makes me feel like a fraud. I think Logan knew. Even before the mission. I think he saw the way I looked at Brandon. Logan's jaw tightened. Every line was a knife. But not because of what it said, because of how honest it felt. This wasn't Maddie putting on a mask for Brandon. This was Maddie's guilt bleeding through. He kept turning pages. Until one stopped him cold. If he ever came back, I'd lie. Because facing him would break me. I'm not strong enough for that. Logan stared at the page. She'd already written her confession. Not for the world. For herself. Kinsey watched him read in silence. You okay? She asked. He didn't look up. I don't know, he said. I don't think I want her to break anymore. Kinsey raised an eyebrow. Then what do you want? Logan stood. To make her answer for the way she lived while I was gone. And now, the world would hear it, too. The first call came at 3:17 a.m. Maddie jolted awake. The phone buzzed once. No caller ID. She answered with a shaking voice. Hello. Silence. Then breathing. She froze. Logan. Still no answer. Just steady, slow, familiar breathing. She hung up. The second call came 2 nights later. Same pattern. Same time. This time, she screamed into the phone. I know it's you. What do you want? The line went dead. By the third call, she didn't even pick up. Brandon begged her to report it. But Maddie shook her head. We go to the police, and he'll come harder. Then what do we do? Brandon snapped. She turned slowly. We wait. What they didn't know was that Logan wasn't just calling her. He was calling everyone. Reporters, bloggers, military contacts. Anonymous tips flooded media inboxes. Seal declared dead, possibly still alive. Widow collected life insurance. Fiancé under legal fire for misconduct. By morning, Maddie's name was trending on Twitter, not in praise, but with fury. Kinsey sent Logan a screenshot of the headlines. You've gone public now. Logan's reply was instant. She gave them a fake death. I'm giving them a real resurrection. And with that, Logan sat in the dark cabin and picked up the mic connected to his next move. A pre-recorded message. Simple. Direct. You buried me alive. Now let's see how you handle the resurrection. And tomorrow, that message would go viral. The doorbell rang at 6:42 a.m. Maddie opened the door half awake, still in a robe, mascara smudged from the night before. No one was there, just a thick envelope on the welcome mat. Stamped, confidential legal delivery. She tore it open. Inside, divorce papers. Fully completed. Financial disclosures. Shared assets. Claims of fraud, misrepresentation, emotional abandonment. No sender name. No lawyer info. Just one line typed in bold at the bottom. You thought I died for this? Her hands trembled as she dropped the envelope on the floor. Brandon rushed into the foyer. What is it? Maddie turned to him, eyes wide, voice hollow. He filed for divorce. And he's not even alive. By noon, her phone was exploding with messages from her attorney, friends, old neighbors. Someone had leaked the documents to a gossip blog. Screenshots were going viral. Cheated widow being sued by her dead husband, or someone pretending to be him. Seal hero's name weaponized in scandal. The comment sections were merciless. This woman's a monster. She didn't lose a husband, she upgraded. Where's the body? Where's the truth? Maddie stared at the screen until her vision blurred. Then she did something she hadn't done since Logan's funeral. She screamed. Miles away, Logan sat in the truck, listening to a podcast play the leaked audio from his message. His voice echoed over the radio. You buried me alive. Now let's see how you handle the resurrection. He didn't smile. This wasn't about feeling good. It was about making sure she never forgot what it felt like to erase him. The charity gala was supposed to be Maddie's moment to recover, a PR stunt cooked up by Brandon's firm. The narrative? A grieving widow, unfairly targeted by online trolls and conspiracy theorists. But Logan had other plans. He wasn't just taking down her lies. He was going to make them impossible to ignore. An hour before the event, hundreds of flyers were slipped under windshield wipers in the venue parking lot. Each had the same image, a screenshot from Maddie's own house camera, her kissing Brandon on the couch, date stamped just 9 days after Logan's memorial. At the bottom, this is grief. Inside the venue, guests whispered. Phones lit up. Screens were passed hand to hand. Maddie didn't notice right away. Not until she took the stage and saw the first row of eyes, not smiling, not clapping, just watching her like a predator in a cage. Brandon leaned over. Someone leaked something. Maddie's voice cracked on the microphone. Thank you. All for being here to honor Logan's legacy. A cough. A ripple of murmurs. Someone in the back laughed, bitter and sharp. Maddie paused. We're grateful for your support. Another cough. A voice from the crowd. Was Brandon supporting you before or after the funeral? Laughter. Gasps. Maddie froze. Backstage, she collapsed into a chair, shaking. Brandon grabbed her arm. This is bad. She looked up, eyes wild. It's not just bad. It's him. He's here. Somewhere. Watching. And she was right. Logan stood across the street, on a rooftop, watching through binoculars. Not with joy. With focus. The truth wasn't a blade. It was a spotlight. And he was just starting to turn it on full. The next morning, Maddie woke to her name trending again. A clip had been posted on a subreddit, then shared on TikTok, Twitter, and eventually major news sites. Someone had stitched together multiple surveillance clips, Maddie and Brandon kissing in Logan's house, Brandon laughing while signing a condo lease, Maddie saying, "We'll spin it if he ever comes back," Brandon's dinner with the blonde, the viral audio. You buried me alive. The video ended with text over a black screen. Justice doesn't always wear a uniform. But it never forgets. The clip had over 2 million views in 6 hours. Comment after comment. Whoever Logan is, he's a legend. That man came back from the dead with receipts. She deserves everything coming. Maddie pulled the curtains shut and turned off every light. I'm done, she muttered. I'm not leaving this house. Brandon paced the room. We have to fight back. How? Everyone's turned on us. Brandon snapped. Then we turn on each other. Maddie blinked. What? You think I'm going down for this alone, he said. I'll say you manipulated me. You knew he was alive. You hid it. You played both sides. Maddie's mouth dropped open. You really think anyone's gonna believe you over me, he hissed. The silence between them was final and deadly. Logan watched the clip again, alone, this time on mute. The moment his voice hit in the video, the entire world turned on her. Not because he told them to, but because they saw what he saw now, the truth behind her perfect smile. And that's the part that scared her most. Maddie hadn't left the house in 5 days. Every time she approached the front door, something pulled her back. The sound of tires crunching on gravel. A flicker of movement outside the window. A shadow that didn't belong. She tried to convince herself it was paranoia. But paranoia doesn't send anonymous packages. That morning, she found one on her doorstep. No address. No label. Inside, a single photograph. Logan, standing in front of her father's grave, holding a folded flag. She dropped the photo like it burned her. She went upstairs and locked herself in the bathroom. Stared into the mirror for a long time. There was a cut on her lip from where she bit it in her sleep. Dark circles under her eyes. Her skin had gone pale. I can't take this, she whispered. I can't. The mirror stared back. But the face didn't look like hers anymore. It looked like someone who had been caught. And worse, someone who was still pretending she hadn't been. Downstairs, Brandon was still trying to fix things. Lawyers, crisis managers, PR firms. All of them refused to work with him now. One of his former clients had filed a complaint, citing moral conflict and breach of trust. Brandon sat at the kitchen table, sweating into his coffee. We're out of time, he muttered. He's not stopping. Maddie didn't answer. Because in that moment, she wasn't listening to him. She was still staring into the mirror. And she wasn't sure if she was scared of Logan or of herself. How do you fight a ghost when the guilt already lives inside you? The walls weren't just closing in, they were collapsing. Brandon's firm officially suspended him. No severance. No appeals. His office nameplate had been pulled down. His car was keyed in the parking lot. A reporter followed him home. His phone wouldn't stop ringing, blocked numbers, voicemails, twisted jokes. And through it all, Logan never once reached out to him directly. That's what made it worse. Brandon finally broke one night. Poured himself 2 glasses of whiskey, then threw one at the wall. He sat down at the kitchen table across from Maddie. You realize this is all your fault, right? She laughed bitterly. Mine? You were the one who pushed to make it public. You were the one who wanted him gone, Brandon snapped. You said it'd be easier. You said you were done pretending. I didn't know he'd survive. Brandon leaned in, eyes dark. You knew there was a chance. You just didn't care. She stood and walked away, shaking. I'm not doing this with you. Then you're doing it alone, he said. Because if I go down, I'm taking you with me. She froze, turned back to him. What does that mean? Brandon stared at her for a long second, then smiled, the kind of smile Logan had once called fake. It means you better find a way to make this stop. What they didn't know was that Logan had already anticipated this turn. He was counting on it. Some enemies you fight with bullets. Others? You just let them self-destruct. The save-the-date emails were supposed to go out that morning. They didn't. Instead, everyone on Maddie and Brandon's guest list got something else, a forwarded message. It was an email Maddie had sent to Brandon 6 months earlier, timestamped 3 days after Logan's memorial. Subject line, he's gone. Message, no more hiding. We don't owe anyone anything now. Let's build our life on something real, not on a memory. Under it, a reply from Brandon. Then let's get the money first. Attached was the life insurance form. The leak hit Reddit first, then Twitter, then morning news shows. By noon, the story had a hashtag. Hashtag buried alive payday. Maddie stared at the screen in horror. No one was supposed to see that, she whispered. Brandon was already on the phone with a lawyer, voice shaking. We need a restraining order. We need someone arrested. But there was no one to arrest. No name. No trace. Just Logan's shadow. That night, Brandon ended it, took off the engagement ring and dropped it on the table. "We can't fix this." "You're not leaving me," Maddie hissed. Brandon grabbed his coat. "I already did." As the door slammed behind him, Maddie stood in the middle of her ruined house. The silence was deafening. She looked down at the ring on the table and knew the final curtain was coming, because if Logan wasn't done yet, then she still hadn't paid in full. By the time Maddie stepped onto the community center stage for her Widow's Healing Circle, her name was poison. What was supposed to be a PR recovery event turned into a quiet disaster. Half the chairs were empty. The other half were filled with people holding phones, recording everything. Still, Maddie put on her carefully constructed smile and walked to the podium. "Grief is a journey." Someone in the front row stood up and held up their phone. "I have a question," she said loudly. Maddie paused. Sorry. This isn't really a, were you grieving when you kissed your dead husband's best friend?" Gasps. Phones lifted higher. Maddie's lips parted, but no words came out. Another person chimed in. "How much of that life insurance did you spend before the funeral flowers died?" Laughter. Then silence. Maddie looked down at her prepared notes. They suddenly felt like lies. Like all of it had always been. She stepped back, left the podium, and walked off stage without saying another word. Outside, she vomited behind a dumpster, mascara running. Her publicist fired her that afternoon. The local news ran the headline the next morning, "From Widow to Liar?" Maddie Lang's silence speaks loudest yet, and through it all, Logan stayed silent. Because sometimes revenge doesn't require words. Sometimes all you have to do is let the world see. Maddie decided to fight back. If Logan wanted war, she'd meet him in the one place where emotion didn't matter, the courtroom. She called 3 different attorneys. Each declined. Too much press. Too much risk. Too few facts. She finally found one, a big-name trial lawyer in the city who agreed to review her case. Then he asked, "Who exactly is suing you?" She pulled out the letter. He read the first page. Froze. "You're being sued by someone using the name Logan Maddox." "Right," she said. "But he's dead. That's the problem." The lawyer looked up. "Then how is he filing legal documents under his own social security number, as recently as 2 weeks ago?" Maddie's stomach turned cold. He continued, "And if that's him, your biggest problem isn't the press. It's fraud. On a federal level." She left the office in a daze, clutching the papers like they might change. He was alive. Legally. Officially. And she was standing on a foundation built entirely on a lie. Meanwhile, Logan sat in the back of a courtroom across the state, quietly filing an amended complaint. He didn't flinch when the clerk recognized the name. "You're the guy everyone's talking about." He nodded once. "Not anymore." The clerk smiled awkwardly. "What's this case about?" Logan stared down at the papers in his hand. Truth. Because now it wasn't about secrets. It was about records. And records last forever. Kinsey sat in her apartment, flipping through 2 piles of paperwork. One stack from years ago, old birthday cards, a love letter Logan wrote Maddie just before deployment. The other from the recent divorce filing. She wasn't sure what she was looking for until she found it. The signature. It was the same. The curve of the L, the sharp downstroke in the X. It was unmistakable. Kinsey blinked hard, heart pounding. He really was alive. Not just alive, fighting. She took photos of both and emailed them to Maddie, subject line. "You knew." Maddie read the email in her kitchen, glass of wine trembling in her hand. She read it once, then again, then a third time. She didn't respond. Instead, she walked into her office, opened a locked drawer, and pulled out something she hadn't looked at since the memorial. A small tin box. Inside, a letter from Logan she never opened. The one he left before deployment. It was still sealed. She held it for a long moment, then set it aside and opened her laptop. Typed one sentence into Google. What happens if a death benefit was paid out, and the person comes back? The answer made her stomach turn. Felony fraud. Possible prison time. It was Kinsey who gave Maddie the address. Not out of kindness. Out of something closer to justice. "I don't know what you want from me," Kinsey had said. "But if you're still pretending you don't know what you did, go see him. Then lie to his face if you can." Maddie drove in silence. A dusty two-lane road. Pine trees on both sides. The kind of place people disappear into, not out of. She pulled up to the cabin. Quiet. Still. She almost left. Then the door opened. And there he was. Logan. Standing in the doorway, very much alive. No uniform. No emotion. Just a man who'd seen everything. Maddie's knees nearly gave out. She stepped forward, lips trembling. Logan, he didn't move. Don't speak, he said. You'll want to save your voice for court. She blinked, stunned. He nodded toward her hands. No recording? No fake tears? I thought I taught you better. I didn't know you were. You did know, he cut in. Maybe not for sure. But you hoped I was gone. And that was enough for you. She shook her head. It wasn't like that. Don't insult me, he said low. I've watched every message. Read every file. Heard every lie. And now I'm here. Not to argue. Not to forgive. Just to finish what you started. She stepped back like she'd been slapped. And for the first time, she didn't speak. Because what do you say to a ghost when he finally stops haunting you and starts hunting you? And how do you apologize to the dead when they came back smarter, colder, and with a plan? 3 days later, Logan sat in a motel room, reviewing court documents. His phone buzzed. Private number. He answered. I think it's time you knew the whole story, the voice said. It wasn't Maddie. It was someone else. Who is this? I'm someone who was there the day your team got ambushed. The day the mission failed. Logan's blood ran cold. I thought that file was sealed. It is, the voice said. But Brandon's cousin was the one who sold you out. That ambush? It wasn't random. He knew the route. Knew when you'd be exposed. Logan's jaw clenched. And Maddie? The voice paused. She knew you were in danger before you deployed. She didn't warn you. She made peace with it. Because she didn't want you to come back. Silence. Logan sat there frozen. Everything he thought was betrayal had just become conspiracy. Back at the cabin, Logan opened a locked case in the floorboards. Inside was a second set of files. Photos. Mission logs. Unsent letters. He stared at a picture of his SEAL team. 2 of them dead. 1 missing. He looked at the name circled in red. Ryder Hayes. Brandon's cousin. Intelligence officer. He was the leak. And Maddie? She'd been in communication with him before the mission. Logan whispered to himself. This wasn't just about love. He looked back at the wall of evidence. This was about erasing me. And now the mission wasn't revenge anymore. It was justice. For everyone. That night, Logan made a call he never thought he'd make. To Brandon. I know you're scared, Logan said. You should be. But I'm giving you a way out. Brandon laughed nervously. You're calling me now? What's the game here? Logan's voice was steady. You testify. In court. Under oath. Everything you and Maddie planned. What she said. What she did. In exchange, I won't press charges on the financial fraud. You walk away broke, humiliated, but free. And if I don't? Logan didn't hesitate. Then I open a case against your cousin for federal treason. And I include you in the conspiracy. You'll lose your license. Your name. And if it goes deep enough, maybe your freedom. Brandon was silent. Then, what do you get out of this? Logan's answer was simple. Closure. Later, Logan hung up and crossed Brandon's name off the board. Kinsey entered the room, holding a new file. You ready to bring this to court? Logan took the file and nodded. This isn't just about me anymore. He tapped a photo of his old team. It's about all of us they tried to erase. The courtroom was smaller than Maddie expected. No grand stage. No dramatic lighting. Just beige walls, fluorescent lights, and a dozen people who would decide what her future looked like. But as the bailiff called the case, all eyes turned to the door. It opened. Logan stepped in. Alive. In a tailored suit. Composed. Clean-cut. Not the man the world remembered from old military photos, but something colder. Sharper. Dead behind the eyes in a way only the living can be after betrayal. Gasps spread like fire through the courtroom. Maddie's attorney leaned toward her. We need to prepare for settlement. Now. Maddie whispered, he's bluffing. But her hands were shaking. Logan didn't look at her as he took his seat. Instead, he handed a folder to his lawyer. Inside, a journal. Weather-worn. Real. His SEAL diary. It wasn't meant for trial. It was never meant for anyone. But today, it would speak. Later, The court clerk read an entry aloud. They say silence is the cost of service. That you come home with more scars than stories. But what they don't prepare you for is betrayal. Not from enemies. From the people you swore to protect. From the one who waited at the shore. If I die out here, I hope my memory haunts her. But if I live, I'll be the storm she never saw coming. Maddie didn't cry. She didn't blink. But her heart pounded like a drum in a coffin. Because it was finally real. She didn't just cheat on her husband. She gambled on his death. And now he'd shown up in court to collect. Brandon arrived at court with sunglasses and an unearned smirk. That disappeared before the first recess. Because he didn't know Logan had filed a sealed packet with the judge, copies of wire transfers, emails between Brandon and his cousin Ryder Hayes, and a voice recording pulled from a conversation Brandon didn't know had been tapped. By the second hour of testimony, federal agents were in the hallway. By the fourth, they entered the courtroom. Brandon Hayes, the lead agent, said, "You're under investigation for collusion in the obstruction of a federal mission and conspiracy to defraud the Department of Defense." Maddie turned, stunned. "Wait, what? That wasn't part of the plan." Brandon looked at her like a drowning man realizing who pushed him in. "You knew this was coming," he said, voice flat. "I didn't. You think he only came for me?" Brandon hissed. "He's going to drag you too." And then, before he was cuffed, Brandon turned to the gallery and pointed at Logan. "This is all because of you. You think you're the hero." Logan didn't move. He didn't need to. Because Brandon was already being walked out the door, not as a partner, not as a victim, but as a traitor. And traitors don't get sympathy. They get buried. It took exactly 4 minutes after Brandon's arrest for the media outside to catch fire. Cameras. Journalists. Headlines in real time. Cheating widow now facing federal questions. Seal's return sparks legal storm. Brandon Hayes arrested mid-trial. Charges include conspiracy. Maddie's face was everywhere. News sites, TikToks, Twitter threads with side-by-side comparisons. Her smiling at Logan's funeral versus her stone face leaving the courthouse today. She was no longer the grieving widow. She was the accused. Later that night, she walked into her now half-empty house. Furniture gone. Photos taken down. Reputation shattered. She opened a bottle of wine and sat on the kitchen floor. Alone. Phone off. Curtains drawn. And for the first time, no excuses came to her lips. No stories. No spins. Just silence. Then she heard it. A knock. She opened the door slowly. No one was there. Just an envelope on the ground. She bent to pick it up. Inside, a photo of her and Logan on their wedding day and a sticky note. "You could have told the truth. You chose to bury it instead." She stood in the doorway, staring into the darkness. She finally whispered, "What do you want from me?" But the night gave no answer. Because Logan wasn't sending messages anymore. He was waiting for her to come clean. And if she didn't, he was ready to finish it in court. Maddie hadn't slept in 2 nights. She sat at the witness table in a charcoal blazer, her hair pulled back tight like she could still hold the story together with appearances. But her eyes gave her away, red, dry, empty. The room was full. Press, veterans, even former friends who came just to see her fall or rise. The judge adjusted her glasses. "You may proceed." Maddie's lawyer gave a slight nod. "Tell us, in your words, what happened after Logan was declared dead." Maddie looked at Logan. He didn't blink, didn't look away, just watched. Cold, steady, the man she thought was buried with her secrets. "I was lost," Maddie began. "Everything after the memorial felt like a blur. I didn't know how to live without him." "Is that when your relationship with Mr. Hayes began?" She hesitated. "It had started before, but not like that. It was emotional at first. And the life insurance? I didn't plan to use it right away." "But you did." "Yes," she said, her voice breaking. "I did." "Did you know Logan was alive?" Maddie paused. And in that split second, the whole room held its breath. Then she said it. "No." Logan's lawyer stood. "Permission to introduce new testimony." The judge nodded. A screen lit up behind them. Kinsey's voice, recorded just a week earlier. "Maddie told me she always believed Logan might come back. That she was scared of it. That she prepared for it. She said if he ever returned, she'd spin the truth before he could." Gasps rippled through the room. Maddie's face turned to stone. Because the story just broke. And not in her favor. She wasn't grieving. She was calculating. Kinsey stood outside the courtroom before she was called in, heart thudding like a drum. She could still walk away. She didn't owe Logan anything. But then she thought of that journal, Maddie's confessions. The way she'd written about guilt like it was a chore, not a wound. She walked in, took the oath, and sat. Logan gave her a small nod. Nothing more. No pressure. Just trust. The questioning was brief. Kinsey, what did Maddie tell you the night of the funeral? She said, if he never comes back, it's finally my turn. I asked her what that meant. She smiled and said, it means freedom. And did she ever mention planning for Logan's return? Yes. She said if it happened, she'd cry in front of a camera and say she thought it was a cruel impersonation. Maddie didn't speak. She just stared. Because the truth was out now, and the walls were closing in. Not because of lies, but because someone finally told the truth out loud. As Kinsey stepped down, she passed Logan in the aisle. You ready? She whispered. Logan's voice was low. For everything. Logan stood now. Not his attorney. Not a third party. Just him. He held up a flash drive. This is my final submission, he said to the judge. No edits. No commentary. Just raw footage. The screen lit up again. Grainy video. Maddie. In her home. On the couch. Phone to her ear. Date stamped. 10 days after the memorial. No, I haven't told Brandon yet. The policy cleared. The money's in the joint account. If Logan ever comes back, I'll handle it. Honestly. I hope he doesn't. It's cleaner this way. The judge leaned back slowly in her chair. The room was dead silent. Logan turned to Maddie. I died doing something honorable, he said. You lived doing everything you swore you'd never become. Maddie's voice cracked. I didn't think you'd survive. I did, Logan said. And now everyone knows what that survival cost me. He handed the flash drive to the bailiff. The judge nodded. We'll break for recess. Final arguments begin in 2 days. Outside the courtroom, cameras flashed, but Logan kept walking. Kinsey caught up beside him. That clip? You've had that this whole time? Logan nodded. Had it the night I came back. I waited. Why now? He looked out at the crowd beyond the courthouse steps. Because timing matters. And the truth doesn't need to yell. It just needs the right moment to hit. Maddie's lawyer called her into a closed-door strategy meeting 2 days before final arguments. You need to pivot, he said flatly. To what? Maddie snapped. There's no spin left. He leaned forward. Then you go after assets, not image. If you can prove Logan suffered psychological damage or compromised judgment due to trauma, you might block him from claiming full financial recovery. She stared at him. You're telling me to paint him as broken? He nodded. It's either that, or lose everything. Later that day, her legal team filed a motion requesting an independent psych eval of Logan, claiming signs of post-traumatic paranoia, delusional behavior, and retaliatory fixation. The motion leaked online. The internet responded within hours. She took his life. Now she wants to call him unstable. She lit the fire. Now she's crying about the smoke. Logan sat on the back porch of Kinsey's place, reading the motion on his phone. Kinsey watched him. You okay? He didn't look up. She's not just fighting me anymore. She's trying to erase who I am. Kinsey sat beside him. You going to let her? He exhaled slowly. No, that night, Logan called his lawyer and gave the green light. They countersue. Not just for emotional damages. Not just to win, but to set the record straight permanently. Because it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming identity. One word at a time. Brandon looked like a shell of who he used to be. No suit. No confidence. Just a man in handcuffs, slumped in a chair, eyes scanning the floor like it might save him. The prosecutor asked the first question. Did you knowingly engage in a fraudulent relationship with the defendant, Maddie Lang, in pursuit of financial gain from Logan Maddox's death? Brandon paused, then nodded once. Yes. The courtroom murmured. And was this relationship premeditated before Logan's final deployment? Yes. And did Maddie Lang express intentions to secure the life insurance payout before his mission began? A long silence. Then, she said if he didn't come back, it would solve everything. Maddie buried her face in her hands as gasps filled the gallery. Logan sat still, emotionless. But inside, something shifted. not satisfaction, not victory, just gravity. The moment everything they tried to deny collapsed in public view. Brandon looked at Logan as he was escorted out of the room. "I was a coward," he mumbled, "but at least I said it." Logan met his eyes for the first time. "No," he said quietly. "You just didn't want to burn alone." But Maddie? She was still holding the match. It happened during the final prep session before closing arguments. Maddie's lawyer paced the room, flipping through evidence. Then he stopped. "Close the file. I can't represent you anymore." Maddie's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me. You lied to me," he said. "About everything. I can't ethically stay on this case." "I'm paying you." "No," he interrupted. "You were. Now? I'd be disbarred if I stood beside you." He stood and gathered his things. "For what it's worth, you could have walked away before all this. Could have told the truth. People might have forgiven you." She said nothing. So he added, "But now? They won't even remember your name. Just the headlines." An hour later, Maddie walked into the courtroom alone. No lawyer. No ally. No one on her side. She sat down, looked across the room, and saw Logan staring straight ahead. He didn't even glance at her. Kinsey leaned over to him and whispered, "You okay?" He didn't answer. Because the truth was, he wasn't sure anymore. Not about Maddie. Not about the trial. Not even about revenge. He just knew one thing. It wasn't over. Not until she said it. Out loud. To everyone. The courtroom was silent as Maddie took the stand, this time without legal counsel. The judge offered her a chance to postpone. She refused. "I'll speak for myself," Maddie said. Her voice was clear, but her eyes were hollow. Logan watched, arms crossed. Calm, unreadable. The opposing lawyer approached slowly. "Ms. Lang, were you aware your husband might still be alive when you filed for his death benefits?" "I wasn't sure," she said. "That's not what the evidence suggests." "I hoped he wasn't dead," she snapped suddenly, voice cracking. The gallery leaned forward. "I couldn't breathe in that house," she continued. "He was a ghost before he ever deployed. And yes, I wanted to move on. I wanted something for me." "Something?" the attorney asked. "Or someone?" Maddie's lip trembled. "I didn't plan to fall for Brandon," she said. "But once I did, I had to believe Logan wasn't coming back. Because if he did, what does that make me?" She looked at Logan now, full on. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You came home a better man. And I became the worst version of myself while you were gone." No one moved. No cameras flashed. Even the judge was still. Logan didn't blink. Didn't respond. Because that wasn't a confession for him. It was a confession to herself. News hit fast. Maddie's stand became a viral sensation within hours. The video of her breakdown was on every platform, titled, "Cheating Widow Finally Cracks in Court." But something unexpected happened. Some commenters felt a flicker of sympathy. "She's broken. Like truly broken. Still don't forgive her. But, damn, others weren't so generous. Too late for tears. She earned this." Kinsey watched it play out from her laptop that night. Logan stood behind her, arms folded. "She's unraveling," Kinsey said. "No," Logan murmured. "She already unraveled. Now she's trying to sew pieces together mid-fall." He turned away from the screen. "This isn't about public approval anymore." Kinsey looked up. "Then what is it about?" Logan's voice dropped. "It's about deciding when enough is enough." That night, Logan returned to the cabin. He pulled out an envelope buried under a pile of old uniforms and scanned maps. It was weathered, faded. He had written it just before deployment, a just-in-case letter, meant for Maddie. He never sent it. He read it now for the first time in years. "If you're reading this, I didn't make it back. I hope you moved on in time and that you didn't stay frozen. But I also hope you remember who I was. Not the uniform. Just me. And I hope, wherever you are, you never feel like I left anything unsaid. I loved you. In all your seasons. Even if I never saw the last one." Logan sat in silence, the letter trembling in his hands. Kinsey entered, saw the tears in his eyes, the first since he returned. "You okay?" she asked quietly. He wiped his face. Nodded once. "I have to finish this," he said. "But not like I planned." Kinsey stepped closer. "Then how?" Logan looked out the window toward the courthouse lights in the distance. "I'm not ending her. I'm ending this. Because justice doesn't always need to destroy. Sometimes, it just needs to set someone free, even if that someone is you. It started with the car. Brandon's Audi, co-leased under Maddie's name, repossessed in broad daylight. The HOA group chat lit up with photos. Then the luxury furniture she'd inherited through Logan's presumed death, seized by the estate attorney now that Logan had reemerged. Next came the house. Not a knock, not a notice. A quiet listing. Court ordered. Maddie stood in the doorway, barefoot, clutching a mug with cold coffee. Everything was being boxed up by people in polos and gloves. One of them held up a picture frame. "You want to keep this?" It was her and Logan. Early days. Big smiles. Before lies. Before war. Before everything. She took the frame. "No," she said. "I think he deserves that one back." Later, Kinsey sat across from Logan, scrolling through the public records. "She's losing it all," she said. Logan didn't flinch. She already did. She just hadn't noticed. Kinsey studied him. "You satisfied?" Logan leaned back in the chair. "I'm at peace." A long pause. "And now I'm almost ready to let go. Because justice, unlike revenge, doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it shows up wearing silence and leaves with everything that once mattered." Logan gave one interview. One camera. One voice. A small veteran-run media outlet reached out, respectful, honest, neutral. He agreed. He didn't wear the uniform. No need for medals or props. He just spoke. The interviewer cleared her throat. "If you could say one thing to your wife, what would it be?" He thought for a moment, then answered, "You broke something I gave freely trust. That was the only real wealth we had. But I didn't come back to ruin your life. I came back to remind you that mine still mattered. And to anyone out there who's been erased, don't stay silent. Come back. Even if it's just to say, I was here." The clip aired for 5 minutes and hit 1 million views in 2 hours. Not because it was loud, but because it was true. Kinsey watched the interview from her apartment, eyes glistening. She whispered to herself, "You did it, Logan." And for once, he didn't need to answer. Because the world already had. The court was nearly empty. Most of the press had moved on. The noise had faded. But Maddie was still required to return for final documentation, asset settlements, and judgment. She arrived in a plain black sweater and flats. No makeup. No ring. Just Maddie. What was left of her? Logan was already seated. Calm. Watching. Not with anger now. Not even coldness. With closure. When Maddie was asked if she had any final statement before judgment was rendered, she didn't look at the judge. She looked at Logan. And she stood. Voice steady. Hands still. "You didn't deserve what I did. I made you the villain in my own story to justify betraying someone who never deserved it. I said I didn't think you'd survive because it made it easier to live with what I did. But the truth is, I knew you could survive anything. I just prayed you wouldn't survive this. I'm sorry." The judge thanked her. Made her ruling. Final divorce granted. Logan received full restitution. Public exoneration. Rights to his name, image, and all withheld assets. Maddie was fined, restricted from speaking publicly about Logan for 5 years, and barred from further contact without written legal notice. As court adjourned, Maddie started to leave. Then stopped. Turned back. "Logan," he looked at her, calm and unreadable. She swallowed. "I don't expect forgiveness." He nodded once. "You won't get it," he said, "but you will get your life back." And then he walked away. Because healing doesn't always mean going back. Sometimes it means closing the door for good. Logan stood at the edge of the dock where his last mission had begun, where the military had once told Maddie he's not coming home. It was sunset. Quiet. Salt in the air. A breeze off the water. No cameras. No courtroom. No more pretending. In his hand, the chain with his old dog tags. He stared at them for a long moment, thumb brushing the edges. This tag had once defined him. Now it was just metal. He closed his eyes and dropped them into the ocean. They disappeared without a sound. No ceremony. Just gravity. Kinsey had offered to come, but he declined. "This part's just for me." Now, alone with the water, he spoke softly. "You took the old me. But I'm still here. Different. Damaged. Maybe better." He stepped back from the edge, exhaled, and smiled. Not big, but real. Because some parts of the past aren't meant to be reclaimed. They're meant to be released. 3 weeks later, Logan Maddox became Logan Cole. It was official, legal, quiet. No press releases. No headlines. No applause. Just a signature. A handshake from a clerk. A nod to the man in the mirror. He moved to a new city, smaller, coastal, quiet. No one asked about his past. No one whispered his name when he walked into a diner. He liked it that way. He bought a motorcycle, rented a studio above a bait shop, got a part-time gig at a veterans dive school. People started calling him Coach. It felt strange at first, but peaceful. One night, he sat at the edge of the pier with a beer and his thoughts. Kinsey had texted him, "You good out there?" He typed back, "Better than I expected." Still figuring out what good means. And that was okay. Because for the first time in years, he wasn't surviving someone else's lies. He was living his own truth. Back in her apartment, now a much smaller one in a forgotten part of the city, Maddie opened a journal she hadn't touched since the trial ended. At the top of a blank page, she wrote, "To the man I buried and the man I watched rise." Then she kept writing, "You won't read this. I'm not sending it, but I need to say it for me. I tried to justify everything I did. I turned my fears into decisions, my guilt into silence. But in the end, it wasn't about you. It was about who I wasn't brave enough to be. You deserved grief, not betrayal. You deserved time, not abandonment. You deserved honesty. And I gave you everything but that. I hope you found peace. I hope you built something new. I still hear the knock sometimes. The one where no one was at the door. And I wonder if that was you, reminding me you're still out there." She closed the book, put it on the shelf, and went to bed, not with comfort, but with clarity. 2 months after the trial, the veteran-run outlet that had interviewed Logan reached out again. The original clip had gone viral across quiet corners of the internet. Military forums, survivor groups, even classrooms. This time, they didn't want an expose. They just wanted to check in. The host sat across from Logan in a quiet coffee shop, recording on her phone. "You said in your first interview that you didn't come back for revenge, just for truth." Logan nodded. "Still true. Do you think you found it?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he sipped his coffee, looked out at the waves rolling in through the shop window. Then, "The truth doesn't fix everything, but it stops the bleeding. It gave me space to breathe and to realize surviving wasn't the end of my story." The host leaned forward. "So what's next?" Logan looked her in the eye. "Living. Quietly. With peace. And never letting anyone else write my ending for me again." The second interview didn't go viral. But that wasn't the point. Kinsey hadn't called in weeks. She knew Logan needed space, and he respected that in return. But tonight, her name lit up on his screen. He picked up. "Still alive," she said. "Barely," he smirked. "These teenagers at the dive shop have zero respect for old knees." Kinsey laughed. "You're 36. "Exactly." A pause. Then she said, "You feel done with it?" "With all of it." Logan leaned back in his chair. "I think I finally know what done feels like. And it's quiet. Good quiet." He thought about it. "Yeah," he said. "The kind that doesn't wait for something to go wrong." Kinsey exhaled. "Then maybe I can finally stop worrying." "You never had to," he said. "I didn't do it for you," she replied. "I did it for who you were before all this. Before the funeral. Before the footage." He didn't say anything, but he smiled. Because sometimes loyalty doesn't shout. It just shows up. The letter came in a plain white envelope with no return address. Logan found it in his mailbox one foggy morning. He opened it carefully, expecting junk or maybe legal leftovers. But the handwriting stopped him cold. It wasn't Maddie's. It was Ryder Hayes, Brandon's cousin, the man who betrayed their team. The leak. Inside, one page. "I know you know. I saw the court filings. I'm not coming forward. I've already lost everything. But I wanted you to know this wasn't just about money. It was personal. Your team exposed my father for stealing from the mission fund. He drank himself to death. I didn't forget. I wanted to make sure someone paid. And you were the last one left. You survived. You always do. If you want closure, come find me. But don't bring a lawyer. Bring your truth." Logan folded the letter slowly, stared at it for a long time. He could burn it, ignore it, or respond. Kinsey called again later that day. You okay? He looked down at the letter, then out toward the sea. Not sure yet, he said, because sometimes ghosts don't knock. Sometimes they write back. The clip was still online. The moment Logan walked into the courtroom, alive, unexpected, quiet, and the entire gallery gasped. He hadn't watched it since that week. But tonight, he played it back. Not for ego, for understanding. He watched Maddie's expression change from disbelief to dread. He watched Brandon's jaw drop, panic blooming in his eyes. He watched himself, steady, sharp, no wasted movement. A man who didn't come for drama. He came for truth. Kinsey's voice had echoed in the background that day, in a private conversation not caught on camera. You don't have to destroy them, Logan. I'm not. Then what are you doing? Showing them I'm still standing. Now, months later, Logan paused the video. He turned off the screen and walked outside. The air was cool. The dock was empty. He held the letter from Ryder in his hand, the one that offered a new confrontation, a new revenge path. One more shadow from the past. But this time, Logan didn't feel rage. He felt done. He crouched, set the letter on the wood, and lit a match. Watched it burn slow, ash carried by the wind. His phone buzzed once. Kinsey, you good? He replied, yeah. I walked into court to prove I wasn't dead. Now I'm walking out to prove I'm finally alive. He slipped the phone into his pocket. And with no one watching, no one filming, no one left to confront, Logan walked forward, not to finish something, but to begin something new. It was a quiet morning on the coast. No headlines. No courtrooms. No names in bold fonts. Just sunlight spilling through open windows, the smell of ocean salt in the air, and Logan, no longer Maddox, no longer haunted, sipping black coffee on the porch of a house he now called his own. Not a hiding place, not a war room, just home. The mail came at 8:12 a.m. as usual. One letter. Not from Maddie, not from lawyers, not from ghosts. It was from a high school history teacher in Ohio. Inside was a note. My class followed your story. You reminded them what resilience looks like, what truth sounds like. We talk a lot about heroes. Thought you should know. They call you one. Logan folded the note, sat back in the chair. He didn't smile wide, just nodded to himself. Maybe not a hero, but no longer the ghost. Later that night, he walked down to the shoreline. No monologue, no speech, just a man walking forward, in control of his story, not buried by it. Because in the end, Logan didn't win by exposing Maddie. He won by surviving her, by not letting betrayal define him, by turning pain into purpose and silence into legacy. And now, if you made it this far, I want to talk to you. Was this the kind of ending you expected? Or did Logan's quiet rise surprise you? Because this wasn't just a revenge story. It was a story of survival, self-respect, and finally letting go. If this story gripped you, hit that like button. It tells us you want more bold, emotional stories like this. Tap the subscribe and bell icon so you never miss the next one. We don't just tell stories here. We tell the ones that hit hard and stick. And now, it's your turn. Drop a comment below. What did you think of Maddie? Did Logan go far enough? Or too far? Was justice truly served? We read every comment, and trust me, your thoughts matter. This has been Cheated Seal's shocking move. Wife thought he was dead until he walked into court. But more than that, this was a reminder. Sometimes, the strongest revenge isn't destruction. It's walking away alive. See you in the next one.